From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 7, streaming now.
Now at 7, COVID-19 has led to more than 200,000 deaths in the United States.
And the Centers for Disease Control is backtracking on new guidance on how the coronavirus spreads.
But first, a look at the toll COVID-19 is taking here in Indiana. The State Department of Health is reporting an additional 652 positive coronavirus cases and 9 deaths that took place between September 6th and the 21st. According to the Regents Street Institute, which analyzes health department data, and Indiana is seeing decreasing trends in positive COVID-19 tests, emergency room visits, hospital admissions, and deaths. ICU admissions are increasing.
A flip-flop by the Centers for Disease Control is causing some confusion. The agency released guidelines on Friday, then redacted them Monday. The guidelines aligned with what many health experts have been saying for months, that the coronavirus is airborne and can transmit in places with poor ventilation.
We weren't ready to put it up.
The American people rely on the CDC for clear guidance, and this flip-flopping, which clearly is about political interference in the scientific process, I think makes it much harder for Americans to know what the right things are.
Meanwhile, the World Health Organization is reporting the worst one-week period of worldwide COVID infections with 2 million cases. The UK is announcing it's reinstituting restrictions, including fines for breaking self-isolation because of a surge in cases.
New research is highlighting the importance of wearing masks. A recent study suggests that by lessening the amount of virus that you take in while you're wearing a mask, the less sick you might get if you do contract COVID-19. Asha Qureshi is getting perspective on this new theory.
As the race to a safe and effective coronavirus vaccine heats up, new research about masks is changing the narrative on their importance. Last week, CDC Director Robert Redfield called face masks the most powerful public health tool we have.
I might even go so far as to say that this face mask is more guaranteed to protect me against COVID than when I take a COVID vaccine.
It was a stark change from CDC messaging early on in the pandemic that face coverings would most likely only protect those around you.
And that was because there was a lot of data at that time that you can shed the virus at high rates from your nose and mouth even when you feel well.
Dr. Monica Gandhi is an infectious disease doctor and professor of medicine at the University of California, San Francisco. She co-authored newly published research that theorizes that not only do masks protect the wearer, but they may even reduce the severity of the coronavirus when someone gets infected.
We realized that we should be messaging more strongly. Masks protect you as the wearer and protects others.
It theoretically works much like the early days of vaccines that use small amounts of viruses to elicit an immune response in the body. So by wearing a mask, you're only exposed to lesser amounts of the virus, if any, potentially building up a sort of immunity. Dr. Emily Landon is an epidemiologist and infectious disease specialist at University of Chicago Medicine.
The more virus you get inside, the sicker you are. The less virus you have, the less sick you are. This is called a dose response, and it's true of many infections.
The research is something that has been studied in animals.
There was a hamster study that looked at the COVID-19 virus, and the more that the hamsters were given, the more sick they got.
Dr. Gandhi says it could also explain why, according to the CDC, 40% of coronavirus patients are asymptomatic.
Countries that mask well have lower rates of severe illness than countries that don't mask well. So putting it all together, this is our hypothesis.
And while the research is still theoretical, if it bears out, experts say universal mask wearing could drive up the proportion of people who get less sick from the virus if they do contract it. I'm Asha Qureshi reporting.
A Centers for Disease Control and Prevention advisory panel will delay a vote on who should get a coronavirus vaccine first. That's according to a committee member and infectious disease specialist. The vote was expected to happen Tuesday, but now the panel will study the issue further. The group has agreed frontline healthcare workers should be the first to get a vaccine when one is approved, but it is unclear who should be next in line. People at high risk for COVID-19 complications, such as the elderly and people with underlying conditions, or essential workers.
Checking in now with Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Kevin Gregory here on this first day of fall as it winds down tonight, Kevin.
Do I look relaxed, Mark? All is calm.
Completely.
All is calm in the weather world, and that's been the case for quite a while, right? We'll talk about some subtle changes that come our way later in the newscast. 79, that's current temperature in Muncie. 77, I take that back. These are the high temperatures, but we haven't cooled too much. I want to show you from high to current temperatures. Indianapolis down 5 degrees in the last few hours. It's 74, the current temperature in Lafayette, and down the Wabash River toward Terre Haute. Should be a good looking sunset. Again, some of this just mid to high level clouds. There's some smoke in there in the higher elevations from the western fires, so maybe good looking sunset. Check that out. There's the kind of smoke forecast through the night. I think thicker smoke to the north and to the east of central Indiana. Temperature will be 61 at midnight. It's going to be a warmer night than we're used to. We've been in the 40s the last few mornings, but 53 is what you wake up to tomorrow morning. We'll finish your Wednesday forecast and look to the weekend coming up.
Today is National Voter Registration Day. The deadline to register in Indiana is October 5th if you want to vote in the November election. And if you are registered 1 month from today, October 22nd is the deadline to request an absentee ballot. Marion County has already sent out thousands of ballots by mail. And if you have received one, election officials have a message for you. The Marion County Election Board is reminding voters to take 2 important steps once their ballot arrives. Check to make sure the precinct listed on your ballot envelope matches the precinct on your actual ballot. And make sure the ballot has 2 sets of initials in boxes on the back of the ballot. If you notice an issue, you can call the Marion County Election Board at 317-327-5100.
Indianapolis Public Schools is working on a plan for families so students can make up today's canceled remote learning. IPS says an internet outage was caused by a damaged fiber optic cable. And we can tell you within the last 5 minutes, the district just tweeted out the issue has been resolved by the internet provider. Again, the issue has been resolved. That coming down in the last 5 minutes. The technical issues did not impact everyone, but were widespread enough that administrators decided to call off all remote learning for Tuesday. IPS says teachers are also working to make sure lessons are available for the rest of the week.
WRTV is working for you and getting results after years of complaints to the city. A house that neighbors say was only home to trouble is no longer standing. WRTV reporter Cameron Riddle has been reporting on the issues with this property for the past year. He caught up with neighbors who are beyond pleased to see the house become history.
We've been fighting for 2 years to have it torn down. Cameron Riddle started the fight about a year ago with us. And finally this morning, they're actually tearing it down and keeping their word.
The neighbors on Harlan Street are very happy tonight. It has been an entire year since they first called me about what was a nuisance of a house. Katrina Cunningham reached out after finding used needles while walking her daughter to the school bus. She and other neighbors say the house at 2310 Harlan Street has been home to nothing but problems.
We had squatters in there. My daughter's bus stop is at the corner. We had kids going in and out and starting fires in there. It's been a headache, it's been a hassle, and it's been dangerous.
Cunningham and Robin Wood Gebhardt are 2 of the neighbors who have consistently called the city and WRTV in an effort to get this place knocked down. Over the past year, we've done a series of stories on this address, first after the needles were found, then after squatters returned to the house, which partially collapsed in a fire in 2018.
You never know what you're going to encounter when you walk out your front door.
After a lot of questions and persistence, today, the structure was finally demolished.
The house is finally coming down.
Neighbors say knocking down the house is an immediate improvement to the area they otherwise love.
The rest of our neighborhood's nice. Our street is really all homeowners. We take pride in our home, and this has really just made our neighborhood look ugly and like we don't care.
As you heard, one of the issues neighbors have complained about is people living or squatting inside of this house. I was talking with a construction worker here earlier this morning who said they did a walkthrough of the house, asking, yelling, making sure that there was no one inside of the property, and no one responded. But as soon as they started to knock down the back wall, they said a man came out the door saying he was still living inside and would need about an hour to get his stuff out. That just shows you how active this property was. On the south side, I'm Cameron Riddle, WRTV.
If you have a similar problem in your neighborhood, before you call WRTV, try these resources. You can use the Citizen Access Portal to research permits and demolition or repair cases. You can also report issues to the Mayor's Action Center or the Request Indy app or website. If you feel like your complaints or concerns are not being heard, contact WRTV.
Still ahead on the news at 7, some of the new COVID-19 safety measures you can expect when cruise lines are eventually allowed to sail again.
From operating the register to running her own restaurant, a dream come true for a Greenwood native who is now looking for other Hoosiers to follow in her footsteps.
From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 7, streaming now.
I've always said if I was going to work anywhere, it would be at Culver's because I love their custard.
Jerry Overly's spirit is hard to forget. She was the 79-year-old Culver's team member we introduced you to last fall, working at the Noblesville location. A customer, her favorite there for her great attitude. Everyone loves her. Culver's uses multi-generational and mentorship programs to help employees go from workers to restaurant owners. For one Greenwood native, that day is almost here. A brand new Culver's is set to open in Franklin, and as WRTV's Lauren Casey learned, the owner and operator got her start at a young age.
I started Culver's when I was a senior in high school.
Ashley Mitchell had dreams of going to school to be a pharmacist, but her first job was at her neighborhood Culver's.
I was doing cashier, I opened the restaurant.
She worked full-time and went to college full-time at IUPUI.
And I asked to be an assistant manager.
But the doors kept opening to new opportunities.
And I became general manager of the restaurant at 23.
As one of the youngest GMs, Mitchell decided to change career paths and focus on growing in a company she already loves.
This was my career. This is what I wanted to do in my life.
Mitchell took part in the company's mentee program in Wisconsin, a chance to develop her skills as a leader and business owner.
We did profit and loss statements. We learned how to do schedules. We learned how to do truck orders. We learned everything that you possibly could know. We've done TV interviews, mock interviews, and I'm putting it to use now.
Now she's working full-time on the final touches of her Culver's franchise near her home in Johnson County.
It just seemed like the right fit for me. There's so much growth and opportunity, especially right here on 65.
And the Culver's is conveniently located right off I-65 on exit 90 here in Franklin.
I want the community to know that we are here. We are going to support them.
Volunteering in the community is important to Mitchell, as is training the next generation of workers or maybe even another future owner and operator.
About half of my management team has been with me for 5 years or more. So I've watched them grow from team members to trainers to shift managers and assistant managers.
And now she needs you. Mitchell's in the process of hiring team members for all shifts and roles ahead of their grand opening.
That was Lauren Casey reporting. You can click on this story on our website, hiringhoosiers.com, to find out how to apply. Ashley tells us opening day for the Franklin location is set for October 12th.
And it's all about tracking rain chances, what little rain chances there are, but we'll follow the progress of the remnants of the tropical storm. Look into our weekend forecast as well right after this.
Two very different weather emergencies are affecting large parts of the country tonight. Texas is dealing with massive flooding after Tropical Storm Beta made landfall overnight. Nearly 19,000 firefighters are working across California in the state's worst ever fire season, with 27 fires still burning. Nadia Romero shows us the devastation millions of Americans are contending with.
From emergency responders in Texas plowing through waist-deep floodwaters, to California firefighters taking to the skies to release fire retardant on flames covering steep terrain. It's a world of difference as fall officially begins, but offers no weather relief. Floodwaters too high in parts of Texas from Tropical Storm Beta.
There's already some people in there that especially minivans, they can't get out. Small cars and minivans can't get out.
The catastrophic Bobcat Fire, one of the largest in Los Angeles County history.
We're not naive to the magnitude of this year's fire season, which, as you know, is historic, simply is not without precedent, or is without precedent. 3.6 million acres, less than 300,000 the entire calendar year last year.
In one state, so much rain, turning streets into rivers. Some Texans waiting for the waters to recede.
The water's pretty high right now, but we've got the ability to mobilize.
And in another state, land so dry, it's perfect fuel for raging flames. In the rubble, a glimmer of hope. But the fleeting moments of happiness don't outweigh the loss of homes, businesses, and life. Firefighter Charles Morton killed battling a Sacramento fire on Thursday, all as the end of hurricane and wildfire seasons are still weeks away. I'm Nadia Romero reporting.
And our rain chances will stay low into the weekend. Although our rain chances come up, they're never going to be likely that we'll see rain across all of central Indiana, but we've got our hopes for the weekend. Gradually warmer temperatures, they'll peak around Saturday, then cooler pattern next week. I think we'll see a lot of highs in the 60s on numerous days next week, and maybe even a little beyond that. The 6 to 10 day and 10 to 14 day forecasts all point toward below average temperatures. Rain, not an overwhelming amount of rain, but from southwest Kentucky all the way down into Texas and Arkansas. The remnants, the moisture from the tropical system will move to the north and east slowly and then pick up some pace. But even by Friday, it will sit south of Nashville, Tennessee, at least the center of the circulation and rainfall, far enough south then of the Ohio River that our rain chances will be minimal. Could be a couple of showers along the Ohio River. Remember, I mentioned the pattern change next week toward consistently cooler temperatures. We'll take a chunk out of the Great Lakes and upper Midwest and have cooler northwest flow of air from Canada. That'll suppress warmth to the south, and our temperatures will be below average. As we go to the weekend, though, that's just prior to the cold front arriving. Temperatures peak in the low 80s Saturday night, chance for some thunderstorms Sunday. A little better chance of rain, especially through the first half of the day. Pick up the timeline Saturday morning. Any activities during the day should be fine Saturday. This is Saturday night at 11. Looks promising to the north for rain. Notice as it drops south, not a favorable time overnight because we're cooling the atmosphere, starting to settle things down. The line of showers kind of fades away. And then as we go Sunday night into Monday morning, another pass at some showers, everything from northwest to southeast then with the cooler temperatures. That is pretty good looking. Amanda, check this out. Doesn't that look good?
That looks beautiful.
If you step outside your house and you look to the west, hopefully you see something that beautiful. As you look at the 7-day forecast, more sunshine. 79 tomorrow, hazy sunshine. Thursday, more in the way of clouds, a couple of showers to the south. 7-day forecast, temperatures do cool off after the rain starts Sunday. That's the cold front that knocks us into the low 70s Monday and then the upper 60s for highs on Tuesday.
All right, thanks, Kevin. Cruise lines are some of the many businesses that have taken a hit during the pandemic. Tonight, there are new regulations in place that could allow cruises to safely start back up before the end of the year. The Cruise Lines International Association announced the new regulations today for cruising in the Americas. The changes include universal mask wearing, physical distancing, coronavirus testing, and increasing fresh air into ventilation systems. Cruising out of U.S. ports is currently banned through a no-sail order from the CDC until at least October 31st. We'll be right back.
Hollywood labor unions that represent people in front of and behind the camera have reached an agreement with major studios safely to get back to work. The agreement includes strict testing measures, a zone-based system to limit the number of people in certain areas, and an agreement on sick pay. The deal requires every cast and crew member to get tested for COVID-19 before a production begins.
If I was artistic and had the talent, I would want to paint this sky. As you can see, looking west from downtown Indy, looking good. It will have a colorful sunset, maybe sunrise as well. Temperatures flirting with 80 degrees the next 3 days and still dry. Amanda?
Thanks for making WRTV your choice for news. Our next newscast is tonight at 11.